Specifically, what we're going to do in this session is look at a tool called what I'll call the business plan. Often, leaders in managerial positions or in operations are faced with dilemmas related to a need for increased staffing or a need for new equipment or a need to address some sort of issue or another. And what's a very important tool that can be used to assist in resolving these sorts of issues is the business plan. How do you create a document? How do you communicate to funders or to deciders? How do you communicate what the issue is, what are the options, and what do you recommend that needs to be done? How do you do this in a way that's convincing and compelling so that people can understand the problem and assist you in its resolution? Now, often these documents, this method of communication has to go to more than one level within the organization and often external to the organization. It may need to go to a corporate head office, it may need to go to the Ministry of Health, it may need to go someplace else. Often these documents need to go to various levels. So it's important that we have a structure and a way to communicate that's going to be effective, that's going to help to resolve the dilemma at hand. So business plan or a business case is a standard way of documenting issues. The key difference between other documents such as a strategic plan or other sort of communication, a change management plan, etc., is that the business case focuses on the financial issues involved in the case. What is it going to cost? What investment is required? And what is the rationale? And at the end of the day, in many cases, one is looking for or is going to ask the question, what is the return on the investment? What am I going to get as a result of this investment? And return is often expressed in financial terms. If I invest so much money, that I will receive a return in financial terms. However, in the public sector and healthcare, we often look for benefit over and above simple financial return. There may not be a financial return. There may be improvement in quality, there may be improvement in access, there may be improvement in level of service that we're providing. In any case, there still is a return for the investment. And at the end of the day, you're asking somebody to invest in your issue, and you need to show what the benefit of that is. It's also important to show the consequences of not making the decision. So that'll be a key question that people ask is, well, what if I do nothing? It's important that the business case also addresses that situation, that scenario of, well, what happens if we do nothing? So, in simple terms, business case is a document. It needs to begin, like any good story, with an introduction. It needs to describe what the issue is at hand. It should describe how it fits with strategy, the strategic objectives of the organization. Why is it appropriate that the organization needs to deal with this matter? It needs to identify assumptions and dependencies. It certainly needs to look at options and alternatives. And at the end of the day, what you're going to try to do is put those into quantitative terms, that is the financials and performance metrics that will enable the reader to understand not only why this investment needs to be made, but what will be the return. And that should be done in the context of the options that you've previously identified. From a financial perspective, there are things that should be clearly delineated, such as one-time operating costs, what capital costs are required, what are going to be the ongoing costs, and any other resources that are going to be required. Often human resources might have to spend a fair bit of time if a proposal requires staffing up, or purchasing may need to be involved if it's a significant technology acquisition. All of that should be described in the business case. Benefits, as I mentioned, is key. What is the return on the investment? So the benefit realization summary needs to be clearly identified. As well, there needs to be a risk analysis. What are the risks with going forward with this? What are the risks financially? Are there time, schedule issues? Is there personnel, human resource type issues that might be faced? Deciders do not generally speaking, like surprises. So by identifying the risks up front, you can let the reader know what are the potential risks so that they can be acknowledged, and if things do go sideways during implementation or down the road, everybody went into the situation with eyes wide open. Finally, the business case should consider the implementation strategy. How will the business case, the proposal be actually implemented? What are the issues involved? What's the schedule? What's the cost? All that should be developed. There may be a need for further documentation, such as the change management strategy or an HR strategy, depending on the magnitude of the proposal. But there should be some discussion regarding the implementation. And then finally, a summary of why you're doing this. I hope that when one looks at the case studies and other literature in this, that you'll see that the benefit of this kind of structured approach, it's a disciplined approach, but it's one that can help with dealing with major issues that are often are in essence a constant in operational management. So there we have it. That's the business case until our next session.